This evening, the Phaedo, Plato's Phaedo. Of all the dialogues, this is the dialogue that has created the most difficulty for a community of scholars to deal with than all the other dialogues. I presented 2 papers, one at a college and a major thesis I presented. It caused so much disturbance there that I won't finish the story. The next time was at an international conference on Plato, second annual conference, and I gave a paper on the Phaedo, and I was urged by one of the speakers there to forward it to a major journal, and they held it and they held it, and finally they sent back a rejection. And I asked, of course, why it was rejected. And so I have a warning I must give you. I have it in print, in handwriting, along the side of this page, and it said, if Pierre Grimes is right about his understanding of the Phaedo, there's 2,000 years of Western scholarship that is just simply wrong. So let me give you a view. Now, I've warned you. This is the heretical side of wisdom. We are going to tie together 4 ideas. The most difficult one is the philosopher, or as he calls it, the true philosopher. Death, wisdom, immortality. Now, as I proceed through this, I'm going to take you through, as it were, the dialogue itself. I've selected many of the key quotes that will explore this notion, and that's where we're going. So, after due warning, we can begin. Therefore, I've set down what I consider the great paradoxes. Now, there's one. But this is a better one. All right, 5 of them. Beginning of the dialogue, Socrates, this is of course the death scene. This is the last day of his life. He's in the jail. He's waiting the hemlock. That's the sentence because he violated the laws of Athens, and this is his punishment. So he has his friends over for the last day, and he's engaged in a discussion. And the first point he makes is to a poet, Evenus. And he tells Evenus through this spokesman, he says, look, I'd like you to give him a message for me. And that is, if he's wise, to come after me as quickly as you can. Well, everyone's upset at that thought. I mean, what a nice greeting and what a nice thing to say to someone. Drop dead. Come after me as quickly as you can. That's going to be his death scene. Now we have to make sense of this. In what way does Socrates mean that? If you're wise, axi, notion of wisdom, if wisdom is playing a role in your psyche, then you better come after me as quickly as you can, for that is wise. And he adds to it, and he says, so will every man who has any worthy interest in philosophy. And at this point, he's going to separate philosophy, the every day of thinking of it, to his, or the true philosophy. So, if you have an interest in philosophy, the next time you meet another philosopher, just say, drop dead. And their response should be, I'm trying. And we have to make sense of that joke. He says the reason why anyone has a worthy interest in philosophy should follow me as fast or as quickly as possible is because when dead, we know the dead attain the greatest blessings. Who? Those who have a worthy interest in philosophy. Another paradox. So there are 5. Then he pulls it together and he says, look here, it's really essential that you understand that this idea of death is not understood. And of course, 2 of the people in the dialogue don't understand it, thank goodness, so he has to explain it. So this is his statement. He calls them the many. The many. The many. They do not know in what way, I wrote it in twice, right? In what way the real philosophers desire death, and they don't know in what way they deserve death, and they don't know what kind of death it is. So at the end of this, we should go back and see whether now we can understand why real or true philosophers desire death, deserve it, and then we have to figure out what kind of death it is. Now look here. Isn't that curious? Because normally people think there's only one kind of death. They say, no, 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 no. We have to know what kind of death. Therefore, there has to be several different concepts or ideas of death. Therefore, he then takes a bold statement to make it clear for the rest of the dialogue what he means by death. And death is, that's where he puts it, death is the separation of the soul from the body, right? And here in this beautiful picture, right? Here lies, and here are some daisies being pushed up. Right? And at that moment, there should be the separation of the soul from the body. So, death is the separation of the soul from the body, 1. Now he makes another distinction which is important to him, but the state of being dead, hey, the state of being dead is not the same thing as death. The state of being dead is when the body separates from the soul and exists alone by itself, and the soul separates from the body and exists alone by itself. And therefore, all right, there is a separation and a continuous separation. Each alone by itself. Each alone by itself. Each alone by itself. That, therefore, is the state of being dead. Right, that's much different than death. That's the state of being dead.
So the separation would be the process?
I don't know.
I mean, the death would be the process of the separation?
I don't know.
I'm trying to understand the distinction that you're making.
Well, we only made one, which is why you're having a problem.
Between death and the state of being dead, right?
That's right. Right. We only covered this one, you see. So you should be puzzled. Both what's being said